And good morning, everyone. Early morning show today as we continue to discuss, analyze, educate all the fun stuff about the 2024 UFL football season. Obviously, a little bit disappointed going on this week. For me at least, we saw the Battlehawks lose to the Brahmas. I don't know if I'm the only one disappointed in that, but I believe the league executives are also a little disappointed in that. You also have the three-time USFL champion Birmingham Stallions continue their reign of dominance in the spring football circuit by taking care of business versus Michigan Panthers. Obviously, we've seen a lot of success with Danny Etling at quarterback, only in the first half, though. And then, as we saw at this time, we continue to see him succeed in the first half, and then in the second half, kind of tailor off, and that's exactly what happened. So, as we break down those two games, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the championship, obviously, and whatnot. We'll talk a little bit about the overarching theme of is this the matchup the league wanted? Is St. Louis going to show up? All types of stuff like that. Obviously, as it comes down to the wire, it's been a little bit of a crazy season. lack of a better term, as guys continue to get reps and workouts right now. We're continuing to see the progression of the season move on. They're talking about the draft. They're talking about so much different stuff. So it's a great time to be seeing and being a part of this, yes, but at the same time, it's kind of sad that it's coming to an end. As we continue to press on and whatnot, it is a little bit disappointing to see the amount of people that are kind of writing off how many people are going to be coming to St. Louis, and I'm one of those people. I'm going to be honest. I don't think a lot of people will be coming to St. Louis. I don't think a lot of people are going to be too jazzed up to go watch this game with, a team that the Battlehawks have beaten 3 times before this, and then lose when it matters most. Obviously, going back to 2023, I don't think enough people really care about the air quote greatness of the Birmingham Stallions and whatnot. So, in my opinion, this is a little bit disappointing. But breaking down the two games, we saw an absolute masterclass, in my opinion, for coaching from Skip Holtz. Able to bench the MVP, go with Matt Corral. I think I think Mike Nolan on the other sideline did some good stuff. I really loved this fake that he called with Kai Nakua. But in the end, it was the consistent ground game from Birmingham. Nate McCrary was the bell cow for Michigan, which is probably not what they expected. And then you had, CJ Marable, and then the rest of the guys able to put it up, just do enough. They came in under 100 yards. And then between the big plays from Jay Sternberger, Jordan Thomas had, a nice conversion. Just these guys, everyone just doing their jobs. It's very Patriot-esque, right? Do your job, know your role and whatnot. Now, we'll have a bone to pick with the league on this. They pop in Adrian Martinez as the MVP. Guy's going to probably be benched. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me and whatnot, right? If you look at Martinez, he has trouble going to the second and third reads. He gets very nervous in the pressure and everything, and that's why he tails off and runs. Matt Corral looks a lot more comfortable. Maybe it's because he's been in NFL camps for 2 years and was, around Matt Rule and Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, maybe. I'm not really 100% sure if that's the end-all, be-all, but you do see a little bit of a calming presence, and maybe it's because he got benched and whatnot. They both kind of looked a little jittery when they first started. But in the end, excuse me, in the end, Birmingham is always going to be the best team out there until they're not. And I know that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. It's the reality. It's they've lost 4 games in 3 years. It's funny, I made this tweet a couple weeks ago, is that when you had Birmingham, they've almost won the same amount of games as the 1980s team, as this this team that's only playing 10 games a year, and they used to play 18 games in the USFL back in the 80s. So just some food for thought on that. Kicking over the San Antonio and St. Louis, in my opinion, I feel like they kind of – I mean, Battlehawks were plagued by drops. I feel like AJ at one point was like 1 of 5, and like they were all just drops. Garbers, excuse me, I'm yawning. It's 5 a.m. where I'm at. Garbers, for what it's worth, continued to play a clean game. He did have the 1 interception, but he was extremely efficient. 15 of 21, 197, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. McCarron goes 19 of 29, 179, 1 touchdown. So, in my opinion, you have kind of – it came down to the play of the offensive line. Now you have a San Antonio team that was able to move the ball on the ground with Anthony McFarland and John Lovett, going over 200 yards to the Battlehawks that really had to abandon the run because they were down most of the time. But it was offensive line play. AJ's under pressure constantly. They're running a lot of stunts. They're running a lot of, exotic packages and whatnot. So it's, in my opinion, it just kind of, you match up all these exterior factors and whatnot. You match up the injury and everything like that. It just, to me, it just wasn't. It just didn't seem like they had a shot at this thing once the game started going. And I know that might be a little bit of a cop out and everything like that, but I feel like it's the reality on it. So, as it continues to churn up for the rest of the year and whatnot, or excuse me, the final part of the year, it's just extremely disappointing because I think a lot of people expected St. Louis to be in this, and I think a lot of people, really were hoping that for the attendance-wise, that the Battlehawks would be able to be that team, be those guys and whatnot, and it would have manifested in a decent amount of butts in the seats. And Royce Waxenfelter, he writes, if Perkins were available, do you think he changes the Panthers off in quarter 3? Yeah, I mean, there was a couple times where I felt like Etling got out of the pocket, was able to avoid trouble, and then he, maybe gets back to the line of scrimmage, just throws the ball away. Perkins could have took that to another 6 yards. So now you're looking at a 2nd and 4 versus a 2nd and 10, and then your play calling is different and whatnot, and you're looking at different parts of the play sheet and whatnot. So that's just my opinion on that. But I mean, yeah, no, Perkins, I think definitely, especially with Colburn kind of being slow and everything like that, Perkins is going to change that game a little bit and allow things to be a little bit more exotic and, just kind of go off script, play the schoolyard role. And then from there, you're kind of in a better place, in my opinion. And also, you got to ride some of that hot hand as well with Perkins. Just kind of showing that moxie, that ability and whatnot. And, it straight up looked good. When he was playing, he looked like he knew what he was doing. And, I mean, he was pretty comfortable. And this is a guy in Bryce Perkins who's actually played a little bit. He didn't just come off the street. He was on the team. I think he's got the Super Bowl ring. You add in the fact that he's also, started an NFL game and whatnot. So this is a guy who's just not a scrub. He might not be an elite NFL quarterback by any means, but, I mean, this is a guy who's pretty capable. But continue to push on to Michigan and to St. Louis and San Antonio. There's obviously a lot of injuries AJ was playing with, and the team was only able to generate 1 sack for the Battlehawks against Garbers and that offensive line. I mean, in my opinion, that's just such a discredit to they got to up their pass rush. They had the same amount of sacks this year as they did last year, and I think there was some inability to get to the quarterback and whatnot. I think they got to upgrade the interior of their offensive line a little bit. I think their right tackle, Joan Bushwell-Beatty, he's kind of on roller skates. I don't think Jared Jones-Smith is as good as everyone thinks he is. I feel like he crosses his feet a lot. So I think there needs to be upgrades on their offensive line. We'll see what happens on that. It was funny, a guy they brought in, Coda Martin, that was a guy they were really high up on, and ended up getting cut. So we'll see what happens on that. Moving towards this championship game, to me, I gotta go with Birmingham. But if San Antonio upsets, I wouldn't be surprised. What I like about San Antonio is that I like their pass rush. I like their tenacity. I think their offensive line is better than Michigan's, and they're going to be able to kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of stun the pass rush, right? Stun the pass rush of Birmingham. Now, the thing is about Birmingham is that there's plenty of people on that there's plenty of people on that defensive line that they could rotate in, continue to make plays and whatnot. And Anthony Miller is completely right. Defense wins championships in Birmingham and San Antonio have the two best. St. Louis has guys like Harvey, Feeney, Pita, who are solid overall as a unit, but the Battlehawks defense is average at best. And yeah, I mean, like, you have all those guys and you only registered 19 sacks. I know they have this thing called a NASCAR package that I really enjoy, but they were running that like 3-4 times in a row. And you had Carson Wells, who's an edge rusher in the A gap constantly, and they weren't stunting him a lot of times. It kind of, to me, just gets a little, it just gets a little bit old and it's predictable and whatnot. And I know it's funny because Beck will be like slant, slant, slant. It's be like, if I could say the same thing on the other side, I could say stunt, stunt, stunt. So it is what it is on that front. I mean, Harvey, I think does get back into an NFL camp, but on the flip side, like, there were some times where it looked like he had trouble flipping his hips and whatnot, and overall being an athlete. So, I mean, maybe that's just my opinion on that. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying that's the reality of how I feel. Can the Stallions stop the Brahmas run game? No, they're not going to, because there's a three-headed monster back there, honestly, even if you had, Garber's a lot more athletic than you give him credit for. Morgan Ellison, pretty athletic, has made some strides this year. John Lovett, freaking, this guy's fringe NFL guy. Anthony McFarland, fringe NFL guy. I mean, pick your poison back there. Then you can get goofy with Marquez Stevenson and Jontre Kirkland. And, I mean, they had 6 rushers last game, so – I mean, plethora of riches, and continue to keep these guys, kind of moving around on the cusp. There are some wrinkles in there. I think personally that there's going to be a lot of people surprised with how competitive San Antonio is. And it's funny to say that because I think we're just kind of, giving the roses essentially to Birmingham, and as we should, because it is Birmingham Stallions. They've continued to dominate through years upon years of spring football. And I mean, San Antonio, a lot of people had written off. I didn't think they were going to be like a playoff team. I thought Arlington was going to personally squeak it out, but regardless, I think a lot of people didn't think that San Antonio was going to be as good and as they were, and they obviously have surprised a lot of people. And they've lost to the Battlehawks 3 times, and they obviously won this time, and they won when it counted. So I think a lot of people continue to write them off, and I think at this point it's just not appropriate. And this is a team that they threw the chicory at them. It's weird because I feel that if Birmingham starts Martinez, that San Antonio's chances of winning are tenfold. However, if they start Corral, who looks like he actually understands what's going on, understands the metrics, and understands who's doing what, I just feel that personally Birmingham has a lot of, just a lot more of an advantage with that backup quarterback who's able to play within the system and understand what's going on. And it just seems like Martinez is kind of just doing what he feels like. And, Dave Comer brings up a good point. John Lovett didn't play last time versus Birmingham. And they still managed 120 plus yards. So, and that was a game where Quinn Dormandy got hurt, and then Garbers came in. So Garbers has seen this offense, seen this defense, and has gone against these guys and has seen. And this is the big Jay Sternberger game. I think he had like 110 yards and whatnot. If you key up on him, kind of bracket him a little bit, you might be able to see a completely different game. And maybe one advantage that you do have with Martinez is obviously like they kind of abandoned the run when they were down last time. And Martinez led the team rushing 5 for 56. But the next guy was C.J. Marable with 2 for 17, and Ricky Pearson had 7 for -1. Or Ricky Pearson had 7 for -1. So they abandoned that running game and kind of went with like that schoolyard BS back there, and that's when it ultimately resulted in 9 points. So they did give up 3 sacks as well to Birmingham last game. I mean, you can't get too jazzed up about that, in my opinion, but it is what it is. As we break it down, slow it down, all that goofy stuff, I don't want to take too much of people's times and everything like that. Just really wanted to do just a quick video on my thoughts before I went to work. I think San Antonio wins this game. I think they win it 20-16. I don't know why. I feel like they're a little bit more hungry with it. I feel like they have a better place to come from, if that makes sense, because they lost last time and they're able to look back on the film and see what they did right, see what they did wrong, and everything like that. I believe with that metric and that mentality that it's going to come out to them, and their pathway to victory is a little bit more streamlined. Personally, I'm not sure how much confidence Birmingham is playing with. They haven't played well in the first half the last couple of weeks. I would even argue they had dry spells against St. Louis prior, and against Houston, where they only won by 7 points, and they gave up 28 points to the Houston Roughnecks. Good teams just do what you need to do to get by, and I get that mantra and everything like that. But at the same time, to me, I don't know how much stock I put in all that. And, I'm not 100% confident saying it, but I think you got to be a little goofy and just kind of ride the wave with it. And, with that being said, I'm going to pick San Antonio. I like a lot of what Skip Holtz is doing and everything like that. But at the same time, I'm just going to have to go with the gut. So San Antonio is my pick for the UFL championship game. They're going to defeat the Stallions, who have been champions for years upon years upon years. I'm feeling edgy. I'm feeling risky. I think I'm going to do it. But let me know in the comments who you think wins the championship and everything like that. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Quick little video in the morning. Just want to get my thoughts and everything like that. And we'll see what happens. And just before I go, Dave Comer is exactly right. Stallions have bit up some bad habits. 111 yards in penalties versus the Panthers. Panthers and the Brahmas are gelling. He's 100% right. I mean, sometimes when you win, you kind of, instead of fixing all the rust, you just kind of paint over it, which is obviously what you do with rust, but you want to sand it down, put some corrosion control on it, all that. But you kind of just, put Band-Aids and whatnot on it. So we'll see, when you're doing that, I personally feel that, you're not really going in and you're not getting to the roots of your problems and whatnot. You're just like, okay, this is the result. We're winning. We don't really care. So that's kind of how I feel on it. That's what they're doing. But like I said, I'm going San Antonio. Let's go Brahmas. Let's figure it out. So thank you guys for tuning in this early morning. Appreciate it. And I will probably do a video after this season. So, yep. Bye, guys.